Faisal, the last time we spoke, you mentioned we were talking about spirituality, and you mentioned enlightenment. And I would love for you to elucidate the stages of enlightenment as you see it.
Huge subject, right?
Yes.
Always
Yes.
very interesting. We can talk about it to infinity. There are hundreds, millions of books about it. The stages that I want to mention is these stages are applicable to every part of our journey. But before I come to it, I want to just mention a little story about spirituality and how it is so much needed, and the story says about when the waters were changed. It's a Sufi story. It says once the angel of revelation, Gabriel, or the guide of humanity, they call him Khidr, the green one. We call him the diamond body. This guide, the hidden guide of humanity behind the scenes, comes to us in revelations and guidance. It is where this teaching has come from this divine source of teaching. This entity came once to a king and said to him, it's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights. And when it rains, the waters will be changed. And whoever drinks from the new waters will go crazy. So tell all your people to store water, for 40 days and 40 nights till the rain goes away, then they can go back to normal. So the king told his people, store water, don't drink, till this stage is over. As usual, nobody listened, So when it rained, they all drank from the water and they all went crazy, except the king stored some water for himself, So humanity got crazy. His people, his nation went crazy. So he started drinking his water, right? And he's saying he sees that they are crazy, but the rumor started spreading that our king has gone insane. Our king is crazy, and he endured all the projections and the loneliness. And after, I think, a few months, 6 months or so, it was just too unbearable. So he drank the water too. So this is the Sufi view of humanity. We all drank the water of conditioning, of ignorance, of fear, of the openness to the great spirit, the openness to our potential, the openness to love. People are even afraid to love, afraid to open their hearts, afraid to find that within them there is shining star. This we talked about this point of light. The Basques in Spain, they say every child is a shining star till the age of 7. That's when they start falling and getting into the fixation. So humanity condition is in this madness. We really living in a psychotic realm. Call it samsaric realm, call it psychotic realm, whatever you want to call it. We are not in touch with basic nature of reality. We are not in touch with the potential of who we are. We don't know that we are under the influence of false beliefs, armoring, conditioning, all of those things. And each one lives within this bubble and this matrix, and we think we are really in reality. And most of humanity functioning almost, I could easily say 75% of the time from their unconscious, but they think they are consciously doing what they want to do. They don't know that they are programmed by their unconscious to go have a McDonald's instead of having, something meaningful. Their body is programmed to crave junk food. Their mind is programmed to feel familiar with it, to eat it. This is the human conditioning, really so much. So we're living in that. Then spirituality and most of the spiritual communities had to retreat, like Tibetan in Tibet, Sufis in some far away, because people thought they're crazy. They are talking about something, inhuman, and many suffer from. If we read the history, how much spiritual people, even Christ was crucified. I don't believe so, but they tried to crucify him, and all he brought is love and illumination, and showed them the ignorance they live in. The paradigm of thought and religions they live in, that was so not in alignment with their truth. The same thing with Muhammad, the same thing with all the high beings. So spirituality became isolated, then became, I don't know, somehow like weirded also. So much of its purity got lost, and you have systems that are really like, I don't know, I'm scared of them. Some of the sects in Sufism, some of the sects in Buddhism, even the Dalai Lama used to say, like, we need to upgrade the whole Tibetan spirituality to meet the time. We have so much extra baggage in spirituality that need to be simplified. We need to make it to bring it to daily household life in that. So spirituality also became, I don't know, all kind of
overly esoteric.
Esoteric, all of that. And enlightenment also became like a myth, like something you attain, and it's the finality. And most of the time people think that, yes, you are fully liberated and you are Superwoman, Superman, so something, that you could do all of those things. And they don't realize that enlightenment is recognizing your basic nature. Nothing more than that. It's like the fish busy about the water, and someday awakens and says, I live in water. Nothing more, nothing less. But there is the joy and the discovery of that. And instead of having all the illusions in our mind about God and our being and the enlightenment, it becomes something so normal, so ordinary. So enlightenment is a necessity. We need to awaken from our madness, from our illusions, from our distraction, and to realize the nature of our mind, the nature of our being is a beautiful field of great potentiality that we can really resource from. And there are in it mechanisms that are sustaining life, and we need to preserve and honor those mechanisms. We don't go and destroy the earth and pollute the waters and the air, and we expect to live. Like madness, what we are doing now. We honor the air, we worship the water, we worship the sun, we worship the insects. All of those things are working harmoniously in a beautiful system, from the physical to the essential to the source. So enlightenment is a necessity to have, to awaken from our illusion, but it is not sufficient. We need to awaken. And awakening doesn't make you superhero or something like that.
Only the first step.
The first step. You just wake up in the morning, you need to wash, you need to brush your teeth, you need to make your breakfast, you need to level. So as you awaken, as you realize your nature, as you come from the illusions and delusions of mind and conditioning, you begin to discover there is more to the awakened state than just the purity of it. So the first stage of it, you awaken, you have realization. This is what I call realization. You were not aware that there is something like that, that's luminous, pure awareness, shining, open, relieving, no monkey mind in it, just peace and depth, and to recognize this is the basic nature of existence. This is realization, like somebody who I know, like some people, because they got hurt in love, I know one of my friends who was so high spiritually enlightened and all of those things, but he will not go to being in love. He is loving, intimate kind, but to be in love, that's a nightmare. because in love in his unconscious is associated with all the pains and the suffering that happened when he was in love, and he will not go there, you know. And some people never been to in love. Their heart was closed since early childhood. So one day, Saturi or bliss hit them and they fall in love. You know, he falls in love with this one or she falls in love with them, and they awaken to beautiful feelings, enriching feeling in the heart, in the soul, longing and wanting and belonging, all of those things. Then hell break loose with it. Comes anguish, fear, abandon, all kind of issues come with about being in love. Then they fall in love even deeper and they get consumed, you know, and they can go such in depth in being in love, you know. It will take them to the whole heartfulness, or they might get lost in madness, you know, like Romeo and Juliet, you know, which is, it is taken from Qais and Layla in Arabia. There is an actual story of a man who loved Layla. His name was Qais, you know, and Shakespeare was inspired by it. And the story was like about 1200 years ago, you know, and Shakespeare knew it and he made Romeo and Juliet of it. But this man really existed and he was a poet, and I love his poetry, Qais, you know, and he fell in love with his cousin Layla, and they wouldn't give him her to marry, and he became insane. Then he lost his mind, and he wrote a beautiful poetry about the enchantment that he was in, you know. I can't read his poetry without tears coming to my heart and eyes. How tender, how beautiful he is. But by the time he was so lost, he lost his mind in love. And they see him meandering in the desert, and sometimes animals are around him. They are not afraid of him because he's totally consumed in love. Yeah. And when they go to him to greet him, he doesn't know what a greeting is. He doesn't know who he is. So they mention the name of Layla. That's the name of his beloved. And the moment they mention the way of Layla, he snaps out and recite a poem of his longing for her. Then loses his mind, you know. Then he died, young, he died. And when Layla heard about it, you know, she also in no time died. She lost all appetite and love. So love could consume us to madness, but it also could consume us into richness of heartfulness all the way to the enlightened heart. So somebody who never was in love, awakened being in love, this is realization. This is a, you know, stage of, I call realization. After the stage of realization, whether love or enlightenment, come this.
Faisal, you speaking about that is required? Being in love with someone? I mean, I realize at one level it's the highest tantric path.
No, no, this is, yeah, I just gave it, thanks. I just gave love about when, you know, another person doesn't want to have a clarity. They always want to be confused. And one day they have clarity, you know. And they awaken from the confusion of their mind. They like clarity, and by time clarity becomes more lucid mind, precise mind, conscious mind. They become to the diamond mind. They become to crystal mind. It's, you know, but first realization of something they never had, clarity. You know, I remember one joke I used to see in one of those little cartoons. A man saying to his wife, you know, I don't know what hit me today. It feels contentment. He was all the time grumpy, and all of a sudden contentment hit him. So realization is experiencing something we haven't experienced before. We awaken to it with a mental, emotional, and the peak of it is enlightenment. We awaken to our nature. We have realization of this experience. Then this experience often is happening in the awareness, in the consciousness, in the mind. You know, this state begin to descend, begin to land from the mind, comes to the heart, comes to the body. This state can go through the mind, body, the mind, heart, body, without being fully integrated. You can sense your body is like just the luminous field, but there is holding in the heart, there is holding in the pelvis. You know, I work with many advanced people who awaken in their mind, you know, and their heart is really open, but didn't go to the richness of the heart. And the pelvis was locked up because they enjoyed the awakened mind and pushed down all the issues, that were coming up, and instead releasing them, processing them, going through the process that I'm going to mention, which is realization. Then comes integration.
Okay.
Integration, you begin to own the experience. It is not just enlightenment happening. This is me. This is my nature. This is my being. It's not God. It's God. It's not basic nature. It's basic nature. It's enlightened nature. It is enlightened nature. But it's my basic nature. It's me, my very nature. I remember when I had that realization with my teacher, Tartan Tuku, 76. I tuned in and I was ready. I received the awakened state. I awakened. I really felt, wow, this is amazing, awakened. And he saw my joy and awakening and all of those things. And he kept saying, this is your nature. I said, yes, it's the nature of everything. He said, no, this is your nature. And he kept repeating it again and again, as if he was like piercing the holding in my heart to open, and enlightenment landed in my heart. I felt, oh, this is not what I thought I was associating with Buddha enlightenment and how glorious. This is how I felt when I was a little boy sitting in the sun in the lap of my mother. I felt normal. I felt cozy. I felt safe. The sun and me are the same light. There is no mind and filters and psychological issues. So he made sure that I own the experience as my nature. So that is integration, because there'll be subtle dissociation of non-attachment or detachment, to the experience. And instead of owning it humanizes it. Feels, oh, this is my nature, and it's the nature of everybody, So that's the integration process, in which any experience you go through, you begin to own it. You begin to assimilate it in your psyche, in your consciousness, in your body, and that's what we call in our essential work the cultivation of the pearl. You own the experience. It becomes personal. Yes, it is cosmic, but it's also personal. You are included in enlightenment. Enlightenment is not something happens and you are left, I don't know where. No, you are fish in the ocean, of the ocean, from the ocean, to the ocean, in the ocean. Then after this realization, the enlightened field that was so radiant and delicate and refined and exquisite begin to soften. The same field, when it opens in the heart, it gets softer feeling to it, like soft space, soft gentleness to it in the heart. It's intimate instead of just radiance, awakened mind. It's gentleness to it. Then the quality descend in the belly. The belly center of the human being is where it begins to assimilate. We eat food, we taste it, we eat it, there's in the stomach, in the gut, and then we assimilate it, integrate it. So the enlightenment, the space of being, land in the belly, and it gives a feeling of, it's not only me, it's a suchness itself. I am solid. I am solid, not the field. I am solidity itself. Zen call it the uncarved block. I am solid being of suchness. I am it. I am the solid mountain of non-existence existence. The same thing with love. It could open in the heart and it becomes poetry and vision and Bollywood movie and Hollywood movie, and it can descend in the belly, become intimacy, sensuality, tantric, union. It begin to not only integrate, but begin to actualize. Then, yes, now the experience landed, it begin to be actualized. Then it brings the stage of taking it to the marketplace. Can I drive my car and still feel the being? Belly will help me to be in the absolute beingness and drive my car. Is it possible? Yes. Can I walk in the store among people and feel the ease and the relaxation of being? Yes, it's possible. So realization is awakening to it. Integration is owning it. Actualization, taking it to the marketplace. Now, these stages, if you take just the purity of enlightenment, but it doesn't happen that simple.
I was just going to say, I think of integration as more of a psychological integration.
Yet then it becomes more complex.
Right. Okay.
Okay. This magical being, as it lands in our system works like a prism. Now, how the white light comes in a prism and comes out like a rainbow, this system take this being itself and begin to differentiate it. Okay. The top of the head usually has to do with the crystal dimension. And this begin to awaken, like as if somebody lifted off the top of your head, and you feel fresh and light and spaciousness and infinite, and your brain is sharper and brighter and all of those things. And you let go of the boundaries and limitation, and you feel I and the be and the universe are one. It's my home. This is my grand home in which the galaxies and the stars and the essential domain are floating. And I belong to all of that. And instead of just a funnel vision, the crystal dimension helped me awaken to the field beyond all manifestation. Then the crystal, the absolute or being land and begin to awaken, the forehead or the what we call the third eye or the pituitary gland. Okay. The first one is the pineal gland and the crown. This one is the pituitary gland. You begin, your consciousness begin to evolve as if certain activation happen in your consciousness. You feel more clear, more objective, more discerning, more intelligent, more ability to weave, to integrate, to dissect. That's the birth of the diamond dimension. The crystal dimension is higher than the diamond dimension. Crystal dimension is awakening. This is differentiating wisdom, knowledge, perception, knowing, sensing, seeing, all of that. This being as it lands, more comes to the eyes, comes the inner seeing and the outer seeing, come to the ear, inner sound. You might tend to be a musician, When I remember,
is that intention as well?
Intention?
Is that as well in the diamond brilliance, or is that further down?
Intention, no, further down. Okay. But this is a product. As this quality comes, it washes the diamond, so your consciousness shine. It washes the crystal. It upgrades the brain frequency. So the brain frequency, instead of filled with dullness of mind and belief system, it dissipates those clouds. The brain shines, become as if it is really a ball of diamonds. Higher frequency, more pleasure, more openness, as if this absolute washes the body of jewels that we occupy our body, washes our physical body, open it up, but also washes the jewels that are buried in this body. And these jewels, they are created, this jeweled vehicle, as a prism to differentiate reality, to see it, to hear it, to smell it, to taste it, to feel it, to cultivate the will, to cultivate the inspiration. So as the being descend, it begin to open the different aspect of our jeweled being. The individuation begin to arise in the field of cosmic openness. You feel you exist as a person, and there is more to you than your ego identity. There is more to the person than their dull mind or habitual mind. There is more to their aliveness than the mundane. Certain awakening begin to happen, actualize in the body. Awakening. These qualities, as they open, they trigger different issues that have been blocking them. Each aspect that arises, whether it is intelligence or objectivity or clarity or expression or manifestation or love or solidity, are covered by certain issues in childhood that impaired those centers from functioning that impair the jewel body of the child to be completely functional. They block this, they block that, you know. We block courage, we get block courage and we get plagued by fear. We block tenderness and we get blocked by, you know, cruelty or depressions. So the being itself works as a shower. Every day washes the body, the psyche, the spirit, the jewel structure that are buried every day. If you call upon the being to come and land, I love the Christ prayer when he says, give us today our daily bread. Oh. This is the daily bread. Being comes and liberate a diamond. Being comes and liberate gold, love. Being comes and liberate white essence. You feel solid and grounded, you know, takes away the fear, takes away issues that, you know, what happened with mother, what happened with father, what happened in our childhood. Reveal it to you. That's the revelation, you know, and awaken your potential. So then the realization becomes also liberation of the potential. We go through those stages: liberation, realization, integration, and actualization, but not only on the level of the absolute, but also on the level of the intermediary stage between the absolute and between the worldly existence. The essential domain begin to activate. Love increases, joy increases, compassion increases, groundedness, energy, you know, amazing resources, how it comes. So this has to do with how, you know, any issue that comes in the journey, you know, it starts with dealing with the issue, then maybe an openness happen, you have a realization of what this issue blocking it, you know. Then you enjoy this realization, then you begin to integrate it with a clarity or love or strength or beauty or whatever. Then you feel this is an aspect of you. And you begin to enjoy it. You get richer as a person, more multidimensional as a person. The spiritual poverty goes away. You become spiritually greedy. Be spiritually greedy. Don't want anything less than the whole kingdom. Because we are given that kingdom, and we really need to, you know, understand spiritual poverty means letting go of the greed, letting go of those things. But give us today our daily bread.
I really appreciate that. I don't think most Christians think of. I think they think of it less metaphorically. And
yes, no, he was really
daily
praying.
Sustenance. You're saying the daily bread is a being.
Yes, yes. And in Christ's prayer in the Quran, he prays to Allah, to the great being, to descend upon us a table of sustenance for all humanity from the beginning of time till the end of time. And people thought he was asking for, I don't know, bread and fish and all of that thing, food, you know. No, he was asking for essential sustenance. Wow. Because worldly sustenance we can cultivate, we can do, but he needs grace. He's asking for the divine intervention to descend upon us a table. And a table in our work, in my work at least, it is the holy city. He is asking the landing of Jerusalem upon the earth. And Jerusalem brings all the essential domain. It's the grand vehicle that differentiates the absolute into all known and unknown dimensions that we live in. That's what his prayer was. Something magnificent, something stunning, that will be sustenance for the beginning of us and for the last of us.
I'm so glad you're talking about this, because it's giving me an understanding of your work that I haven't understood up until
now. Yeah, really. Once all
languaging.
Yeah, the languaging, the kingdom, really, to know what it means, that integrating our enlightenment, realizing our nature, realizing our essence, integrating it as us, enjoying it, actualizing it, living it. And, you know, you mentioned a point, maybe you can
Yeah, just the how service becomes a part of a more realized version of our humanness, right? That
Yes,
when I think about my own life and how it evolved through the years and in the work that I did, how
yes,
it emerged a little bit and then a little bit more and then a little bit more to
yes,
a point where that's really what all you want
yes,
is to
yes,
be of help, to be of service, to want to give back and essentially help others feel and exist in a way that's the best that they can.
yes, yes. It is a natural product of spirituality. Altruism, bodhisattva activity is a natural product of spirituality. The spirit, the human spirit, is a star, is a sun shining within. The ego is a black hole. The ego started as a product of the sun trying to mediate with reality. By time this mechanism, started building up its momentum, ego, the child tried to satisfy mother, father, survive, do all this wind up the system, the mind, the psyche of the child, and created an entity. This entity is ego. The core of this ego is narcissism, hole of emptiness, no self, So the black hole, as long as we are in our ego, we want to fill in. We want to take, we want to take, we want to take. But once you open up to your spirit and to your spiritual dimension, the natural flow is that to give. It just flows from your heart, from your soul. You want to give. And then service, offering, bodhisattva activity is not coming from martyrdom. It's coming from my cup. Christ said it.
Yes.
My cup
over.
Runneth over. He didn't say, take the last drop of my love, of my heart, of my love, of my cup. No, he asked us, fill up my cup, then runneth over. It flows to humanity. If I go every day giving my teaching and my students the last drop of my heart, they're going to suffer a lot. They have to pay a lot for it, consciously or unconsciously. But when I fill in, when every day I know, give us today our daily bread, I fill in and I know how to receive and fill in, and it flows, then I am living a life of generosity and abundance, And each soul, this magical higher self that comes in a specific colors and light and propensity. We didn't all come to do the same thing. Some souls came to be musicians, some souls came to do labor, some souls came to do design, some souls came to do science. Each soul want to contribute, like we are bees in a beehive, and each one has a specialty. Maybe this one produces this and this one does that, And ultimately, when the bee is liberated, it want to do the giving, and it also, by time, it knows the uniqueness of its contribution. Like when I was in high school, and I was in love with poetry and human nature and the depth of it and all of that. I wanted to study literature, psychology, sociology, human thing. But everybody said, "Oh, you're intelligent. You're wasting your time on these obsolete old things. Go study science." And I was intelligent. I started with 4.0 average in Berkeley in math and physics. But after 2-3 years, I went dry. As if something in my soul was putting on the brakes. I wanted to be scientist. I wanted to go to Kuwait and bring science or this. My soul was not into that. I had to drop it and go to therapy. To see, I am getting stuck. I cannot continue my education. What's wrong? And that was the first step in awakening. I said, oh, my soul is not into that. I am in love about human nature, how people are, how to heal, how to bring beauty, aspiration. Then little by little, it took 40 years to realize my soul station. I came with love, and this is a gift of love. My soul is a lover. And now I am reaching the final stages, I hope, of my life to walk a lover, a worshiper. Enlightenment helped me to get from the mind and the lostness of it and chisel a different mind that received the teaching and wove it with psychologizing and weaving it now in beauty and aspiration and joy and gratitude. I walk around now every day, hallelujah. What a magical, and this is what my soul came to do, soul station, we call it. We did a video on the point of light. So every soul come with a purpose. And if the soul is in the right groove, that person lives happily in life. It doesn't matter sitting a guru on the throne or a garbage, collector. They feel they're doing service. They really know, they feel the value, of what it is. One day they gave them hard time in one of the towns here in California, those garbage collectors, and the garbage collector decided not to collect garbage.
That doesn't last long.
1
People
week
are bowing down.
Yes, the whole week, 1 week. Then, so this is when you are in your soul station, you're giving your love, and this is the gift of enlightenment. We are the gift of enlightenment. Remember that song, The Rose, about love. Love is a rose, and you are its only seed. We are the seed of enlightenment. We are the seed of love and creation, and we're given so much potential. But they clipped our wings. They took us from the kingdom, and they say, do. How can I do? You want me to fly, and you don't give me my wings? So spirituality is restoring us to our potential and going through the patience of realizing the quality or the issues, and then resolving it and integrating the quality, owning it, that we are preciousness, we are love, we are enlightenment, we are all of those things, and then actualizing it, putting it in service, living it in, actualizing your higher purpose, living a life of abundance, really. So this is part of why spirituality is so important, and the stages at first: realization, integration, actualization. It doesn't happen just you get awakened and it's happened. In the process of realization, integration, actualization, there is a lot of hard work. You need to be really to persevere. You really need to be the camel crossing the desert. Patience, endurance, processing, seeking help, cultivating skillful means, meditation, breathing, exercising, seeking wisdom from teachers, from companions. We are a blessed time in which the teaching now is all over. Before you have to go to Tibet to get some teaching. Now, Tibet is here. So it's a journey. It's incredible journey, but it's not a dreamer's journey. It is really hard work journey, but rewarding, because we are working hard anyway. Let's work hard the right way. Integrate our richness, our being. I think that's what I think about this, the gradations of enlightenment, or the gradations of the journey.
Thank you, Faisal.
Yeah, thanks.